What's up, dudes? Max here. Big update for you all. Got a chance over the past couple of days to check out an early build of Street Fighter 6 and the big release of Terry Bogard, the first official outside of, I guess, Capcom franchise guest character that Street Fighter has ever had. It's kind of a huge deal. So, with that being said, I think there's a lot of expectations of how this character is going to play, what he's going to be like. Is it going to be similar to the versions that were before with Capcom Association, like Capcom vs. SNK 1, CVS 2? And my answer to that immediately is kinda. There's a bit of similarities, but at the same point, Terry's gameplay is refined from like 20, 25, almost 30 years of this character existing in a variety of different fashions. And I feel a lot of the love, care, and attention put into his gameplay considerations, not just his visual stuff. Mostly going to talk about gameplay stuff here. Another thing to mention, as a huge thanks to Capcom for giving us an opportunity to do this. This play session, though, had a much different constraint compared to previous ones, so we didn't get nearly that much time with like actual training mode and stuff like that. I think the total amount of time I got was like 30 minutes, so even with that situation, I gave myself an opportunity to just let like level 7 AI fight each other to see what they do. But at the same point, I'm able to give some pretty concise ideas about where they're going with this guy's gameplay and what I kind of love about it. So, first and foremost, one of the bigger things about him is the fact that he has a ridiculous amount of special moves. I counted them as about like 7 on the command list itself, but there's funny things that they do to make that actually possible, because there's only so many specials you can fit between like fireball forwards, dragon punch motions, you know, all of that kind of stuff. And some of Terry's attacks, like the power dunk, for example, have been relegated to other things like unique attacks. He actually does some of these other moves during pre-canned combo strings that the character has. So, funny enough, here's how they do it. His power wave, like his light medium power wave where he effectively punches the ground, these are on the first 2 buttons. So again, Terry comes from games where they're mostly 4 buttons. This is a 6-button Street Fighter game, meaning the light and medium punch are used for power wave. However, he has a move called Round Wave, which is kind of a completely different attack. It's like a big slam, similar to Power Wave, but it has a different effect. He also has Quick Burn on Fireball Back Light Punch, and this is sort of his, like, he has kind of like a Rekka in some games where he sort of like 1-2 punches you, and he can end it in certain ways. He doesn't have the full thing there, but you'll notice this is Fireball Back Light Punch. That is where Terry's Burn Knuckle has been forever. So to me, I was like, whoa, it was Burn Knuckle somewhere else? No, it's on the medium or heavy punches. So this is how they split things up. They give you like one version of attack might be on one attack button, but because Burn Knuckle in the history of Burn Knuckle has only been like, you know, for the most part, the light punch one or the heavy punch one, they stick it on the medium punch or heavy punch in Street Fighter 6. So I'm like, oh, that's actually pretty smart. I kind of like that. He also gets Power Charge. You know, might remember this move from later Terry iterations. He gets this a bit later on in KOF games as well as games like Gauro and stuff like that. And then he also gets Rising Tackle, and I'm happy to explain that Rising Tackle is a DP motion. So there is no wild thing. It's Rising Taco. It's a DP with a punch. Even though he is clearly doing kicks, it doesn't matter. It's been weird in a lot of different games where it's done either with like kicks or punches from what I recall. So yeah, he's got a Dragon Punch with punch. It's quite good. And then he does have Crack Shoot. The thing that I wish to tell you is that we did not get an opportunity to see how good or bad these things are. I think what happened before with a lot of previous Street Fighter events where they were showing off characters and letting people get their hands-on time with them, people were either getting too much hands-on time, where there was just way too much information being shared in terms of like frame data and movement speed and all this kind of stuff. So they do not want that with a pre-release version of a character. So again, we could only literally play against like other AI for the very limited period of time we had. We could find other human opponents, but man, just figuring out what Terry can do with all of these moves was kind of daunting to say the least. Supers are incredibly cool, and the more you look at something like Buster Wolf or Power Geyser, you realize that the key poses in here are direct visual callbacks to previous versions of Terry. A lot of the ways that he does Buster Wolf is almost like shot for shot identical to his Gauro iteration, and that's very obvious when you see Terry with the Gauro outfit doing that kind of stuff. The most interesting super is easily Power Geyser, because Power Geyser's double fireball back with punch. They're not going to make you do fireball back half circle forward. You get a level 2 with it, and then, as we talked about before, you can modify it to being Twin Geyser for the cost of a 3, I think, pips of green bar. And then you can turn it again into Triple Geyser for the cost of another bar. So yes, I don't know how big and damaging this thing was, because again, I just didn't get an opportunity to land it. But getting a level 2 super that can be modified into a level 3 while also using half of your drive gauge, this thing better cash out damage like friggin' crazy. But it also looks really cool. Rising Fang, you know, we finally got to see the other animation of it. Awesome looking super, is really fast, seems quite like a pretty dang good level 3. And then we move on to his unique attacks, and boy howdy, they gave Terry a metric ton of unique attacks, or like, you know, target combos. So what I like about this is that most of the stuff that's in here is direct throwback references. It almost feels like, hey, we wanted to add as much into Terry as we possibly could, but clearly the dude already has a ton of special moves. They're almost using every motion input on the controller that you can do outside of a reverse Dragon Punch, and I don't think there's many reverse Dragon Punches in Street Fighter 6. So, yes, they put it in different places. It's interesting he has a lot of these, but not a lot of them are special cancelable. Only some of them are. Power Dunk is a big one. So, like, medium punch into heavy kick again. He does legit the old school Power Dunk that you know and remember. Passing Sway is the weird lane switch stuff that Terry got in the old school Fatal Fury games. So when you're doing this target combo, the funny thing is that you can only do it on hit. I was thinking that you could, at least from what I tried, I was hoping that you can do this on block to sort of get like a mix-up or something like that. But passing Sway, which is the first part of the target combo for him to do like the lane change, has to land its attack, and then you get an ability to flip sides or do stuff like that. But outside of that, his fire kick was the one special cancelable one. So down medium kick into down heavy kick. It's sort of like a launching move in some way, kind of like a target combo launcher. And this led into a cancelable situation, maybe even a drive rush cancel for some interesting stuff. It's just, you know, very limited period of time that we had with the dude to get this stuff done. Terry's got a lot. I mean, and I'd argue the nice thing about Street Fighter 6 is that with most characters, they're juiced, man. They have more things than they kind of have ever had in the majority of games that they've shown in. And Terry is one of those. Like, I think visually he looks amazing once you get him in motion and stuff like that. People will complain about his nose, and I'm like, my dude, Terry's always had a big nose, like literally in everything. So, I mean, I have very few complaints. He just seems really exciting. And I think the energy of the character is something that is, like, obviously super different than the rest of the roster of Street Fighter 6. His close range buttons are pretty decent, too. His normals, he had a great, like, just standing medium kick. His crouching short has always been good in the majority of games he's in, with, like, a pretty decent, like, crouching short, crouching jab, hit confirm. So yeah, I didn't even get to mess around too much with the EX abilities of, like, all of his moves, but some of them did lead to launcher situations, especially like the shoulder and stuff like that. There's going to be big-ass Terry combos, is what it feels like. And I feel like there's even more stuff in the corner that we just didn't get an opportunity to do. Is he going to be combo sauced out of his mind? It's hard to say right now. And that mostly is coming down to the fact that no training room situation, you know, only are fighting like a CPU that barely fights back or destroys you. But still, you know, a ton of fun. I'm looking forward to Terry after this play session more than any other character in Street Fighter 6. So at this point, it's like, oh yeah, I'm curious about some others in this season moving forward, Elena especially, and how Mai's gonna play. But I think Terry is, like, of all the Season 1 characters and where we're at right now, it's pretty much like Ken and this dude. So, you know, quite happy with it. There were some other elements that were added to the game. There's actually new modes that are being added to Street Fighter 6 as well. There's a unique challenge that they set up in the Battle Hub, where if you want to, like, wet your whistle of fighting online and fight ranked players of certain rank types, there's a new option that you can go to in the Battle Hub that will set up effectively AI fights that emulate online matches with those characters. So if you want to like have a chance to understand what's it like to fight a master or something like that, you can set up an AI fight to learn what it's like to fight a master ranked player. And what I personally noticed after playing, a bit of Street Fighter 6 offline and the variety of AI difficulties it has, the master rank player that I fought was pretty much doing similar stuff to a level 8 AI. So I don't know how that's going to scale throughout the rest of it, but it is interesting. It's kind of an opportunity to give people an ability to wet your whistle if you want to be prepared for jumping into iron ranks or platinum ranks or anything like that. The other one was an ability for replay takeover, and it did allow players to review replays, go back, and effectively occupy the body and soul of either one of the characters in a replay situation, which is cool. These are just more training features that are available for people if you're just trying to get used to Street Fighter 6. They're definitely trying to ease in the onboarding process that this game has, trying to make it even easier for new players if they're jumping in right now. But it isn't as interactive as something like, a Tekken, where it gives you advice on how to punish and what you could do. This is sort of the beginning steps of it, where it's like, hey, remember that situation where you got messed up? Well, you can effectively, like a YouTube timeline, roll forward, roll back, and then find that one spot that you got messed up and be like, so where did I block? What did I need to do? I dropped the combo. Where was the thing that I should have done instead? This is exactly what that's good for. Instead of it being sort of like a guided experience from the devs of like how you should be playing your character. Either way, big update for Street Fighter 6, as well as those other modes and Terry and everything like that. I'll be back with more as soon as possible. I wish I could have had more time gameplay-wise, but, this was a preview event where we were also playing Monster Hunter and other things. So, there's a very limited period of time that we had with Terry, so I don't have any massive combos or anything like that, but hopefully this stuff looks cool. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed the video, I appreciate a thumbs up. I'll be back with more Terry online matches in 4K, getting it to look as good as possible in the very near future when it comes out. Until then, thank you, my dudes. I'll see you next time.